have to admit, y'all, I was wrong. And it looks like your boy's gonna have to open this bad boy up and actually check on the insides, because I think the reason it's doing what it's doing is simply because of it. What up, y'all? I'm back here again after 6 months to go ahead and set the record straight again, because the M1 Mac Mini is just so, like, it's so... Let me explain. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. No wait, none of that. Now, the M1 Mac Mini, after having it for 6 months, since the first day of release, guys, is absolute fire. Now, there's one thing I want to check out, and that is how much dust has actually collected on the inside of this machine since I've had it. I'm showing y'all everything in this video, man. I'm showing y'all the internal guts of my machine here. Now, I'm keeping it all the way 100 in this video, but before we get into that, man, the first thing I want you guys to do right now is comment down below how many likes is on this video at the time of you guys are watching it. And for those that actually did it, as well as hit the like button, I got some for you guys towards the end of this video, so keep watching for that. Now, although there's a lot of good things, and I mean there is a lot of good things when it comes to this M1 Mac Mini machine, I want to go ahead and start off with opening this machine up, and let's just see how much dust has collected within a 6-month time frame. Now, I don't want y'all judging me when I'm opening this bad boy up, but I do believe all of you guys out there should do a physical routine maintenance check of your machine. Without further ado, let's go ahead and open this bad boy up. All right, y'all, so we got the Mac Mini right here, as you guys can see. Got the whole Mac Mini right here. So let's go ahead and open this bad boy up, and we're gonna see how much dust has collected in here within a 6-month time frame. So let's go ahead and open this bad boy up. Now, I'm gonna be doing a whole nother video where I'm gonna be showing you guys the proper way of how you should clean your Mac Mini over time. First thing you want to do is just use a card, go away around it, and it's just gonna pop this cap off just like you see right here. You can already see that there's dust that's popping up already. So let's go ahead and open this bad boy up right here, and you can see that there's dust all along the sides here. All right, so if we look on the inside of the cap right here, we can see that there's a little bit of dust or whatever, not too much though, but it is dusty for sure. And then you guys can see right here, there's a little bit of dust that's kind of on the unit right here as well. Now, again, I'm going to be doing more of an extensive deep dive into the internals of this, as well as opening it all up so that way you can see everything and show you guys the proper way of how to clean it. But for right now, we're just going to kind of use this air pump. I actually use this for my camera lenses to actually get any dust or anything away. So we're just gonna kind of blow that off, because the one thing is, when you got a lot of dust on your machine, is over time it could actually clog up the internals, and you're gonna see some performance issues there. So I will say right off the back, it's not so bad that we can see right here. But again, I'm gonna show you guys the proper way of cleaning this a little later in a separate video. So the next thing I have to start with is, y'all remember in my previous video, I kept getting those weird like error messages when I tried using the iMessages application. Well, literally, y'all, about probably a week right after I shot and filmed that video and put it out, all of those error messages stopped happening. Like, it was like my Mac Mini like watched my video and like had a meeting with this internals on the inside and was like, you know what, we got to stop messing with CKid because he's starting to tell everybody we're erroring out. So if you guys are wondering if that problem is still there, it's not. It's back to working like it was day one, and I didn't even do anything to resolve it. It kind of did it on its own. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, then definitely go back and check out my previous video. I'll have it like right up here that you guys can check it out on the card, as well as down in the description section below. The next thing that I want to talk about is a mistake that I personally made, that I'm gonna keep bringing this up in this video and reminding myself that I did it, and that is, I should have gotten the 16GB RAM option when I first bought it, but I was being cheap CKid and not wanting to max out the RAM. Look, come closer. Listen to your boy. Listen to your Apple go-to guy. Save up the extra money, the ducats, the shillings, the skrilla, whatever you guys classify as your money, and go ahead and upgrade it to the 16GB RAM option out of the gate when buying your Mac Mini, or even the M1 iMac for that matter, instead of the 8GB RAM option that I have right here, because it ain't like you can go into it later and update the RAM like you used to back in the day. Man, when I tell you guys how much money I used to save by doing that, going into Micro Center, yo, shout out to Micro Center, because I used to run up in there all the time and buy RAM for the low and beef up my iMac and my Mac Mini back in the day when it was Intel based, but we ain't gonna get into Intel things today. Now, the reason I recommend the 16GB RAM option for me is because I do a lot of video editing and labor intensive stuff, and I always have multiple programs running at one time on these two ultra wide displays that I have up here, and then I'm also editing in Final Cut Pro and different things like that. And I noticed it's not as smooth as it was day one when I first bought it. At first it was like cutting through the timeline like butter, but after like 180 days of just putting this machine through its paces, it's still good, don't get me wrong, and I'm able to edit from from it and do all of the things that I need to do to get things completed, I don't feel the same as I did day one when it comes to editing videos on the 8GB RAM version versus how I was editing on the 16GB RAM version when I had the M1 iMac machine that you guys saw here on the channel. Now again, I said this is more of my poor decision or frugal mindset, but I learned my lesson from this, guys, and definitely won't be doing that again. To keep it real, guys, 8GB RAM is fine if you guys want to go with that option. If you guys are planning just doing web browsing, watching movies, playing video games, and just like normal everyday use, then I think this machine here for 8GB RAM option is perfect for you, and you won't really need to go to the 16GB RAM option. When it comes to the fan, let's talk about the fan on this machine. Now, when it comes to the fan of this, since I've had the M1 Mac Mini for these 6 months now, I haven't heard the fans kick on not one time. And trust me, y'all, I put this machine through its paces with all kinds of stuff like music production, like the intro you guys heard, heavy video editing with a bunch of different graphics and stuff like that, as well as photo editing. And not once have I heard the fan kick on. Now, I'm starting to actually think that Apple is capping, telling us that there's a fan in here, because I ain't heard it not once. Now, the next thing I have to talk to you guys about is still the limited number of ports. This is kind of one of the biggest issues that I have with not necessarily the Mac Mini, but just the M1 processor as a whole, because as of right now, it can really only handle the number of ports that you guys get on this machine at this moment. And it's the same way on the iMac as well. Now, don't get me wrong, it does work with my current setup, but that is because I had to buy this CalDigit USB hub to give me extra ports that I needed, because I have a dual monitor setup and monitors with ports on the back of them that pretty much most people have, which is either a display port or an HDMI port. Now, most people out there don't really have Thunderbolt ports on the back of their existing monitors, unless you want to actually spin that bag. So on the back, you only get 2 Thunderbolt ports instead of the 4, which I felt like would have been much better and just more useful to users like myself, because let's say that you guys out there, you want to do a dual monitor setup like the one that I have, that the one I'm talking about. Using the Thunderbolt ports, then just like that, you guys are already out of your USB-C ports to leverage on your machine. Now, on my current Mac setup, I use 1 display port and 1 HDMI to connect to my Mac Mini. If they just gave us 2 HDMI ports, then I could have just used that and been done with it. So I feel like the management of ports was not the best decision from Apple on this machine. Now, that could be just the limitations of the M1 chip. And if so, then you know what, I get it. Now, the ideal situation for me would have been 4 Thunderbolt USB-C ports and 2 HDMI ports. Hopefully, this is something that we're gonna get in the future, because don't get me wrong, I got my eye on that M2 or that M1X Mac Mini Pro that's supposed to be coming out hopefully later this year or early next year. That's supposed to support up to 32 gigs of RAM. Now, I think personally, that's gonna be the one that has everything in it that I'm asking for. Now, I talked about this in the video that I have right up here, if you guys wanna learn about that a little bit more. Now that we pretty much got all of the cons out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into some of the pros of this machine, because although there was some things that I would like to see improve with the next version, there are still a lot of good things that I have to say about this machine that to me makes it worth you guys spending your money on it without having any buyer's remorse. Now, the first thing that I have to talk about is the size and how much this is important to me. Now, let me go ahead and tell you guys why. All right, y'all, so let me show y'all real quick what I'm talking about. Now, here is the Mac Mini. Now, don't mind my junky desk, but this is all the space that you guys need for a Mac Mini. It's so small and compact, and it doesn't take up a whole lot of space on your desk. Now, this desk here is actually pretty large. You guys can see my ultra wide monitors I have up here. Got a bunch of other stuff down there that I'm working on, but again, this is all you guys need. Oh yeah, let me show this real quick. Here is another hub that you guys can cop right here. Again, I will link this down in the description section below. This is going to be a hub that has an enclosure on the inside that's going to allow you guys to be able to expand your storage option, because you can actually have a SATA SSD that you can put in this. And yeah, it's super convenient and clutch. Basically, it's this thing here, but in a smaller form factor. So yeah, this is definitely fire. That's all you need. You don't need that much space. Now, the next thing I've been testing out is the performance from a long-term perspective. Now, I kind of touched on this a little bit earlier in this video. So the one that I have here, again, is the 8GB RAM version. Now, I know what you guys are saying about from my last M1 videos. Well, CKid, didn't you just say that the 16GB RAM version is the way that you should go? Yes, I did. I still believe that, just as I expressed earlier in this video. But based on my budget at the time and how much I wanted to spend, I kind of stuck it out with the 8GB RAM version to really see how good Apple's M1 chip really is. And let me tell you guys, it's a beast of a machine when it comes to the status of the M1 chip. So much that when I'm literally able to do it, all of my computers is going to be Apple's new M1 or M2 or M1X, whatever they calling it, because it's that good, it's that fast, it's that efficient, and it's quick with being able to handle everything to a certain extent. Now, let me show you guys what I was currently dealing with before the M1 Mac Mini got here in-house. Hold on, let me grab my MacBook Pro real quick. Oh, all right, so this is the big old machine that I had here, which is the 16. This thing is a 2018 16-inch MacBook Pro that I had. Now this thing is ridiculously huge. I will probably never buy a laptop this big ever again, but it got the job done. Don't get me wrong, it was a good machine, but when I tell you guys, when you go M1, you'll never go back to Intel, because yeah, this bad boy here sounds like a whole freaking like tank is getting ready to just start up or whatever. But yeah, this bad boy still, you know, it did what it did. So when I went ahead and upgraded to the M1 Mac Mini, this was the very first thing that I noticed about it was how quiet it was, opposed to something like the MacBook Pro that I just showed you guys. Let me go ahead and put things into perspective of how much this machine here is actually able to handle. So the main reason why I own Macs, because I'm a content creator, right? And I need something that is powerful and integrates well within its ecosystem to be able to easily transfer files and different things like that. Now, let me go ahead and give you guys all perspective real quick. Now, all of my videos from the end of last year to even this video right here are all shot in either 1080p or 4K and edited all on this machine right here. And if you don't know, 4K video files, guys, are extremely large files, and it takes a lot of processing, computing power to be able to handle all of that. Not about to get all super techie on all of that, but you get my point. It requires a lot of power, right? Now, although I do notice sometimes now after having it for 6 months that the editing process is not as fast as it was day one, don't get me wrong, but I do add a lot of text and effects and different things like that when I'm editing my projects. But guys, I'm still able to complete projects and get them out to you guys in order for you all to see them. So far, it's been able to handle anything, guys, that I've been able to throw at it. And trust me, guys, I throw everything at this thing, including the kitchen sink. And since day one, guys, I'm still able to finish projects that I've started. Now, I've talked about multiple connecting monitors, having many tabs open, video editing, photo editing, music production, like the rap you guys heard in the intro of this video, gaming, and even streaming on this bad boy. Yep, it can handle that too. Now, as long as you guys not out there trying to stream like 4K or anything like that, but who's really doing that anyway? But if you stream in 1080p, you're gonna be fine with this machine. Now, it's not perfect because of the issues that I spoke about earlier in this video, but I have to talk about the applications operating on Apple's Big Sur and being Apple Silicon compatible. Now, I will say, when I did my 4-month update video, there was still some applications out there and plugins that I used that didn't work at the time. But one thing I am noticing, and that, or I will say I have noticed, is that a lot of the companies and different things that I've used as far as applications on this machine, they're pretty much up to date now, and I don't really have to like go back to my MacBook Pro, which is still not up on the latest operating system, just because I know a lot of stuff was optimized on that machine. But like I said, guys, you don't really have to go backwards anymore because a lot of the applications are now optimized for Apple Silicon, which is really dope. So yeah, guys, the good thing is those days is over and I'm fully running now on my M1 Mac Mini Solo without having to revert back to anything. To be honest with y'all, man, I haven't even opened this machine in probably now going on like 3 months. Now, when it comes to storage and how well that has gone for me, now, I told you guys all in my previous videos that I'll have for you guys down in the description section below. You should not buy the spec'd out storage option because it is too expensive, guys, and that you guys can get an external storage that is way cheaper. This still stands today. I literally just dropped the video on Friday explaining this in way more detail and showing you guys what you should buy. It's going to save you guys over $800 when buying this M1 Mac Mini and any other Mac machines for that matter. I ended up buying this external USB dock that has a hidden SSD slot on the inside for you guys to be able to purchase your own SSD to expand your storage, and it works perfectly, guys. Now, I'll go ahead and link those down in the description section below from a site that I shop on called theapplenest.com. So what I did was I bought the 512 gig option, base storage option, save myself some bread because, guys, I never save anything to the internal storage of my machines. Reasons being is because clogging up your internal storage with junk files and video files can extremely impact the speed performance of your machines for longer periods of time. Let me go ahead and say this again, guys. Get an external drive, because saving stuff to your internal storage can impact the speed performance in the long run if you guys don't manage it properly. I know most of you guys out there ain't managing what you're saving on those machines anyway, which is why they created stacks in the first place, to group files as well as photos that people save on their desktop, so it appears to be much cleaner. So I also buy an external hard drive for me to be able to save my things too, and to be able to work from. Now I'll go ahead and include some that I recommend to you guys down in the description section below for you guys to actually buy and get those. But trust me, buy the cheapest storage option that Apple offers and save yourself some money on the machine, and buy some external drives, and you guys can still come out on top in the savings department while also getting the same storage and performance that you would get on the internal drive if you went that route. But even with all the pros and cons that I've shared in this video, guys, do I think that the M1 Mac Mini is worth your time as well as worth your money? And I would say this: if you guys are looking to buy a computer, I would say yes, go ahead and give the M1 Mac Mini a huge consideration if you guys are wanting a desktop-like experience into the Apple operating system, and you guys don't want to shell out a whole lot of money. You still want the same high-power, fluent experience. But I'm actually hearing rumors of the new M2 or M1X Mac Mini that might be literally right around the corner, and it might just be best to go ahead and hold off if you guys feel that you're going to require more power. But I have to admit to you guys, this machine is an absolute beast when it comes to handling literally all of the things that I use my computer for, which is watching content, normal web browsing, video editing, photo editing, music production, all of that. It can handle it, as well as allow me to get my tasks completed. So I think if you guys pick this up, you guys will be happy with it, that you bought it, and you're not gonna have buyer's remorse, any of that feeling at all. Well guys, that pretty much wraps up this video. If you guys found it helpful, go ahead and comment down below. Let me know, let your boy know, all of that good stuff. As well as don't forget to tell me how many likes is on this video at the time of you guys are watching it right now. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Squad.